Right now, two major health alerts are impacting Central Ohio. The Center for Disease Control is investigating at least 24 suspected cases of botulism, including one death. This after a group of people became sick following a potluck at a Lancaster church last weekend. And then just yesterday, we learned that Jenny's Ice Cream voluntarily recalling all of its products amid fears of a listeria outbreak. So a lot to get through, but joining us this morning to kind of navigate all this is Dr. Larry Swanner. You're going to help us learn more about this because I have so many questions, and I know if I have questions, you certainly have questions. So botulism, this is something that we don't hear about. What is it?
Well, botulism is fairly rare. Typically, I think the CDC quotes 145 cases a year nationwide, so it's not very common. Botulism is an infection that you generally contract by eating contaminated food, and the nature of the organism is such that it prefers to live in an oxygen-poor environment, so we typically see foods contaminated that are canned.
Okay, so in this case, investigators suspect that this is possibly a salad or something like that that was made and brought to this potluck that unfortunately infected all these people. So the question I had is this something, if a food is toxic, how can you tell? Does it look funny? Does it taste funny? Does it smell weird? I mean, what are the things we can do to just right off the bat figure it out?
Sure. It's not necessarily going to look funny. Now, sometimes it may taste peculiar, although a lot of times, especially in group settings, people may not recognize that this tastes funny, I'm not going to eat it because I think something may be wrong with it. They may initially assume that, well, someone's used a unique spice I'm not used to, so this tastes a little funny, but maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. Or, of course, by the time you figure out something tastes funny, you've tasted it.
Right, so the one bite is really all it takes.
It can be, sure.
So, we heard about the causes, right? What are the symptoms? So for these, I mean, I feel for all these people at this potluck because they're thinking at any moment something could happen to them.
Sure. The symptoms of botulism usually are around neurologic problems. Botulism causes its damage because the organism actually releases a neurotoxin after you ingest it. And that neurotoxin causes weakness of muscles, so oftentimes patients may come in initially complaining of blurred vision or double vision, difficulty swallowing, muscle weakness or tiredness.
So what can we do as just everyday people to make sure that we don't eat something tainted?
Well, typically we see foodborne botulism developing in canned foods, especially home canned foods, because there isn't the quality assurance and processes built in to make sure that canning process has been done properly. So first of all, and I'm not a canner, so I can't talk about the process specifically, but you need to make sure if you're canning foods that you follow specific guidelines as to that. And I know the CDC has a website that actually talks about proper canning processes. If you're eating food that someone else has canned, I don't know that I can tell you that there's a guaranteed way to make sure you've avoided this infection.
Okay, so we have like 20 seconds left. This listeria outbreak.
Sure.
The reaction to take everything off the shelves, that's something that you support?
Well, yes, I don't believe that there have been any actual infections that I've heard about from listeria related to Jenny's products, but certainly if you find that there's contaminated food in a mass production environment and you've isolated listeria, it certainly makes sense to remove those products for safety, look at your processes, try to determine where it came from, and then correct the problem before you make more.
Thank you so much for being here and helping us because this is very confusing, so you helped clear up a lot of things. Again, we're going to continue to follow these developing stories, and for more information, just visit our website, myfox28columbus.com. Click on the top stories. If you have any Jenny's Ice Cream, you can bring it back to where you bought it for a refund, but do not eat it. That's from Jenny herself. We'll be right back.